I wasn't supposed to be out that late. That's the funny part. Nothing about that night was reckless or dramatic. No speeding. No loud music. No bad decisions. I was just driving home after crashing on a friend's couch. Half awake, window cracked, replaying dumb conversations in my head, the way you do when the road is empty and your brain won't shut up. Then the lights hit. Red and blue exploded in my rearview mirror, sharp enough to make my stomach drop instantly. That cold, instinctive panic set in, the kind that doesn't care if you've done nothing wrong. I eased onto the shoulder, turned off the engine, and rested my hands on the steering wheel like I'd been taught 100 times. Relax, I muttered to myself. You're fine. I wasn't fine. The night was dead quiet, the kind of quiet where even the hum of your own car cooling down sounds too loud. I watched the officer step out of his cruiser in the mirror, tall, broad shoulders, confident stride. Every movement calm and deliberate, like he already owned the situation. When he reached my window, I rolled it down slowly. Evening, he said. His voice caught me off guard. Lower than I expected. Steady. Not aggressive, not friendly either, just controlled. Professional. His flashlight flicked briefly across my face, then down to my hands. License and registration. I handed them over, trying not to stare. But I noticed things anyway: the sharp line of his jaw, the stubble, the way his uniform fit like it had been tailored just for him. His name tag read Ryan. Officer Ryan. He studied my license longer than necessary. Not in a suspicious way. More like, curious. Where you headed tonight, Mitchell? The way he said my name sent a weird jolt through me. I swallowed. Home. Just got off a long night. He nodded, still looking at the card, then back at me. His eyes were sharp, observant, not unfriendly, just intense. You know why I stopped you? I shook my head. No, sir. Your right tail light flickered when you changed lanes back there. That was it? My shoulders loosened just a bit. I'll take a look. Step out of the vehicle for me. Again that drop in my stomach. Even when you know you're clean, those words hit different. I opened the door and stepped out into the cool night air. The road smelled like asphalt and pine, somewhere between empty and forgotten. He walked behind me. I did as I was told. The metal was cold under my palms. This is just a quick check, he said, voice quieter now, closer to my ear. Routine. His hands moved over my shoulders, firm but controlled. Down my arms, along my sides. Professional. By the book. Until it wasn't. He paused. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Then he stepped back. You can relax, Ryan said. You're not in trouble. I turned around slowly, meeting his eyes. Something had shifted. I couldn't explain it, but the air between us felt charged. He cleared his throat, straightening slightly. I'll give you a warning about the taillight. Get it checked when you can. Thank you, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. He handed back my license, our fingers brushing for the briefest moment. Electricity shot straight up my arm. Ryan held my gaze just a beat too long. Drive safe, Mitchell. I got back into my car, heart pounding, hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I pulled away, I checked the mirror. He was still standing there, watching me leave. I told myself it was nothing, but I knew deep down that whatever had just happened wasn't over. Not even close. I told myself I imagined it. That's what you do when something doesn't fit neatly into logic. You smooth it over, file it away, pretend it was just adrenaline, just nerves, just a cop doing his job a little too thoroughly on a quiet road. My hands were still shaking 10 minutes later. I missed my usual turn home, twice. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it again. The pause, that charged silence where neither of us moved, because maybe we were both thinking the same thing, and neither of us wanted to be the one to acknowledge it. I laughed to myself, short and humorless. Get a grip, Mitchell, I muttered. He's a cop. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The next week passed in that weird, stretched out way weeks do when something unresolved is sitting in the back of your mind. Work, gym, groceries, normal life. Except every time I drove at night, my pulse picked up just a little. Every time I saw red and blue lights on TV, in reflections, anywhere my stomach flipped. And then, like an idiot, I found myself taking the long way home. Same road, same stretch of trees, same quiet shoulder where everything had happened. I told myself it was coincidence. The second time I saw him, I wasn't speeding either. The lights came on behind me again, softer this time, almost familiar. My heart slammed against my ribs, but not with fear, with something else, something worse. I pulled over slower than before. He approached my window without the flashlight this time. Evening, Mitchell. No mistaking it. He remembered me. Officer? I said, trying and failing to keep my voice steady. Ryan glanced at my car, then back at me, one corner of his mouth lifting just slightly. Not quite a smile. Not quite not. Tail light still acting up? I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Got it fixed, actually. Good. He leaned in a fraction, lowering his voice. Mind stepping out again? My chest tightened. Did I do something wrong? No, he said quickly. Too quickly. Then, more controlled. Just want to talk. That word landed heavy. I stepped out of the car. The night felt closer than before, thicker. He didn't tell me to put my hands anywhere this time. We stood facing each other by my door. Ryan looked different, less rigid, like he'd already decided something. I shouldn't have stopped you, he said quietly. My eyebrows lifted. Then why did you? He hesitated. Actually hesitated. I'd never seen that on a cop before. I recognized your car, he admitted. And I shouldn't have. There it was. The thing neither of us had named. I swallowed. So, this isn't protocol? His jaw tightened. No. A long silence stretched between us. Cars passed in the distance, but none close enough to matter. I don't want to make this weird, I said finally, or get you in trouble. Ryan let out a slow breath. That makes two of us. I clock off in 10, he said. The words hung there, dangerous and loaded. And, I asked, though my heart already knew. There's a diner a mile down the road, Ryan continued. Open all night. No uniforms. No flashing lights. He held my gaze, giving me space. And out. You don't have to, he added. I'll understand if you say no. I should have said no. I didn't. I could use some coffee, I said. Ryan nodded once. Firm. Decisive. Then drive safe, he said again, different this time. Softer. As he walked back to his cruiser, I realized something that made my stomach flip all over again. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. And I was already all in. The diner was exactly what you'd expect it to in the morning, flickering neon sign. Half-empty parking lot. The smell of burnt coffee and grease soaked into everything. The kind of place where time felt suspended, where nobody asked questions because nobody wanted answers. I parked first. My foot bounced against the floorboard while I waited, watching the road in my side mirror. When Ryan's cruiser finally rolled in, my chest tightened. He parked 2 spaces away, sat there for a moment, then reached up and took off his hat. Seeing him without it did something to me. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaled, and stepped out. No uniform jacket now, just a dark t-shirt stretched across his chest and jeans that fit way too well for someone who spent his nights enforcing rules. This version of him felt human. Inside, the diner was quiet except for a couple arguing in a booth and an old man asleep over pancakes. A tired waitress barely glanced up as we slid into a corner booth. Coffee? She asked. Yes, Ryan said. Then, after a beat, black. I nodded. Same. She walked away, leaving us alone with laminated menus neither of us touched. Up close, the tension was undeniable. Not awkward charged, like we were both leaning toward something invisible in the middle of the table. So, I said, you stop a lot of people twice in 1 week? Ryan let out a short breath, almost a laugh. No. Good, I said. I was starting to feel targeted. His eyes met mine, serious now. You kind of were. That honesty hit harder than flirting would have. I kept thinking about that night, he continued, voice low. The coffee arrived, steam curling between us like a barrier neither of us tried to hide behind. I don't regret it, he added quickly. But I need you to understand, if this goes anywhere, it can't be about that. Not the stop. Not the badge. I wrapped my hands around the mug, grounding myself. Then what is it about? Ryan studied me for a long moment, like he was weighing risk versus truth. It's about the way you looked at me like you saw me, he said quietly. Not the uniform. Me. My throat tightened. I don't get that a lot. Neither did I. We really talked. About nothing at first. Bad shifts. Long hours. My job, my late-night drives, the way silence sometimes felt safer than people. You're very calm for someone sitting across from a cop who technically shouldn't be here, he said. I smirked. You're off duty. Barely. I lowered my voice. Then stop looking at me like that. His jaw tightened. Like what? Like you're deciding whether you're allowed to want this. That did it. Ryan leaned back, hand rubbing over his face. You have no idea how complicated this is. I do, I said softly. I just don't think complicated means wrong. The words hung there, fragile and dangerous. After a moment, he nodded once. Walk with me. Outside. The air was cool and sharp, sobering in the best way. We stood beside my car. Can I see you again? He asked. Not as a cop. Not as an officer. As Ryan. Yes, I said without hesitation. He smiled then. Really smiled. And for the first time since those lights lit up behind me, I knew one thing for sure. That traffic stop had changed both our lives. Seeing Ryan again felt different than I expected. No flashing lights. No adrenaline spike. No excuse of circumstance forcing us into the same space. This time it was deliberate, and somehow that made my nerves worse. We met 3 days later, late afternoon, at a small park just outside the city. Neutral ground. His idea. Somewhere public enough to feel safe. Quiet enough to talk without watching every word. Ryan was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench near the trees, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. No uniform, no badge, just a fitted hoodie and jeans, one foot hooked casually under the bench like he belonged there. My chest did that stupid flip again. Hey, he said as I walked up. Hey, I replied. That was it. No dramatic greeting. No awkward pause. Just easy, which almost scared me more. I kept thinking you'd cancel, I admitted. Ryan huffed a quiet laugh. I almost did. Why didn't you? He glanced over at me. Because I didn't stop thinking about you. And because running from something just because it's inconvenient is kind of my worst habit. That honesty again. Disarming. No secrecy games, no power imbalance, no pretending the badge didn't matter when it did. I need this to be clean, he said. If it ever feels like I'm crossing into something I shouldn't, you tell me. Immediately. I will, I said. And if this ever feels like it's costing you more than it gives, same deal. He nodded, relieved. We stopped walking near my car. Silence settled between us again. Familiar now. Comfortable. Heavy. Ryan shifted his weight. I've never dated a guy who knew me like this from the start, he said. Not the uniform version. The real one. The part of me that's tired, conflicted, not always sure he's doing the right thing. I met his gaze. Then don't perform. Just be that guy. His lips curved slightly. You make that sound easy. It's not, I said. But it's worth it. For a moment he just looked at me. Then slowly, carefully he reached out. Can I? He asked, nodding toward my hand. The question mattered. Yes. His fingers laced with mine. Ryan squeezed my hand once, gentle but sure. Dinner next time, he said. Somewhere with better lighting. I smiled. As long as you're not the one pulling me over afterward. He laughed quiet, real, unguarded. Deal. As I drove home, I realized something else. That night on the road had been the spark. But this was the fire actually catching. Dinner turned into a routine faster than I expected. Not every night. Not even every week at first. Just often enough that it started to feel normal. Like something I'd been missing without realizing it. Ryan liked places that didn't ask questions. Small restaurants, dim lighting, booths tucked away from windows. Not because he was hiding, but because he spent so much of his life being seen. Watched. Evaluated. With me, he exhaled. I noticed it in little ways. The way his shoulders dropped when he sat across from me. The way his voice softened after the first few minutes. The way his eyes stopped scanning rooms like they were potential threats. One night, halfway through a plate of fries neither of us needed, he said, "You make it quiet in my head." That sentence stayed with me. The first time I went back to his place, it wasn't planned. It was late, rainy. One of those nights where the city feels sealed off from the world. We just left a movie, walking side by side toward our cars, when Ryan stopped. "You don't have to," he said. "But I don't really want this night to end." I didn't hesitate. "Then don't let it." His apartment was exactly what I expected: clean, minimal, functional. A place someone slept in between long shifts, not somewhere they lingered. But there were details that surprised me. A half-finished puzzle on the table. Books stacked beside the couch. A photo frame turned face down. He noticed me noticing. "Too much?" he asked. "Just enough," I said. We sat on opposite ends of the couch at first. Talked. About nothing. About everything. The first real test came when Ryan stopped answering his phone. Not completely. Not dramatically. Just slower. Shorter replies. "Long shift. Can't talk tonight." Things that made sense on their own, but stacked together until they started to feel like distance. I didn't panic. At least not out loud. I dated enough to know the pattern: someone pulling back, deciding whether something was worth the weight it carried. And with Ryan, the weight was real. Career. Reputation. Still, when 3 days passed without seeing him, the quiet in my head came back. Loud. On the fourth night, he finally called. "Can you come over?" he asked. No small talk. No apology. Just honesty edged with exhaustion. "I'm on my way," I said. When I got there, his apartment felt different. Lights low. TV off. He was sitting on the couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped like he was bracing for impact. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded, then shook his head. "No, that was new. I got flagged," he said. "Internal review. Nothing official yet, but someone noticed I stopped you twice." My stomach tightened. "Are you serious?" "Yeah," he exhaled. No complaint, just pattern recognition. "They're watching me now." I sat beside him. "What does that mean for us?" Ryan stared at the floor for a long moment. "It means I have to be careful," he said. "More than before. It means some days I'll seem distant. Not because I want to be, but because I'm scared of screwing this up. And," I pressed gently, "and it means I need to know you're not going to disappear the first time this gets hard." I turned toward him then. "Ryan, I didn't walk into this blind." His eyes finally met mine, raw, unguarded. "I can handle slow," I said. "I can handle complicated. What I can't handle is being shut out." He swallowed. "I'm not good at needing people." "I noticed," I said softly. That earned a breathy laugh. We sat there like that for a while, the tension easing just enough to breathe again. "I don't want to lose this," he said. "Whatever this is." "Then don't," I replied. "Just don't try to protect me by cutting me out." He nodded once. Decision made. That night, he showed me the photo frame he'd kept turned face down. It was him, younger, softer, standing next to another man, arms slung around each other, both smiling like the world hadn't taught them fear yet. "My first," Ryan said quietly. "I wasn't ready back then, and he paid for it." I didn't ask questions. I didn't need details. I just reached for his hand. "You're ready now," I said. "You're just learning how to let it look different." He squeezed my fingers tight. For the first time, I understood something crucial. This wasn't about a cop and a guy he pulled over. It was about a man who'd spent years choosing duty over himself, and the moment he finally stopped running, things didn't fall apart after that. They changed. Ryan stopped pretending everything was fine, and I stopped pretending I didn't notice when it wasn't. That alone made us steadier. Quieter in a way that didn't feel like distance, more like intention. We adjusted. Less spontaneous. More deliberate. No late-night drives on familiar roads. No coincidences. When we saw each other, it was planned, grounded, safe. And still, every time he looked at me like I was something he chose, not something he'd stumbled into, I felt it all over again. The review dragged on for weeks. He never told me everything, but I caught pieces. Extra paperwork. Ride-alongs. A supervisor suddenly checking in more often than necessary. The pressure sat on him like a weight he carried home at night, setting it down only when I was there. One evening, we were cooking at my place, something simple, nothing fancy, when he leaned against the counter and closed his eyes. "Do you ever wish," he said, "that you could just rewind to the moment before everything complicated your life?" I glanced over at him. Sometimes. Would you change anything? I didn't answer right away. No, I said finally, because then I wouldn't be here. And I like who I am when I'm with you. That made him look at me like he was seeing something solid for the first time in a long while. The call came 2 nights later. He didn't speak when I answered, just breathed. Ryan, I said. It's done, he said quietly. They closed it. No violation. Just a warning about discretion. Relief hit me so hard I had to sit down. And, I asked, and I'm still standing, he added, which means, so are we, if you want. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest.